What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Post-Gazette Sports Now YouTube channel and podcast network. He is Andrew Destin. I am Noah Hiles. Andrew, coming to you live here from Cleveland, Ohio. Pirates dropped 2 of 3 games, including their Sunday series finale, losing 6-1 to the Guardians. Alex Cobb took a perfect game into the 7th inning. IKF breaks that up with a line drive off of Cobb there, and Reynolds follows it with a single. Those were the only 2 hits for the Pirates. That chased Cobb, the Guardians bullpen, as it's been all year, was excellent. Shut the Pirates down. They got 1 run on an error. But overall, just more of the same, really. This 5th series loss for the Pirates since the All-Star break out of 7 total series. Not a lot to talk about as far as play on the field is concerned, because let's face it, I mean, this team's in last place. It's more about 2025, like we've talked about in this podcast. And there was one big future/current storyline that came to surface this weekend here in Cleveland, which is what we're going to lead the show off with, Andrew. And that's David Bednar. Bednar was removed from the closer role, Shelton announced on Friday. He spoke with reporters yesterday, being Saturday, and then Sunday he pitched his first outing since being demoted. And it was a scoreless frame. My question to you, Andrew, as we get started here is, one, your takeaway from the move from Shelton, benching Bednar, and 2, how do you use David Bednar for the rest of the season?
Yeah, first, I think where I'm going to start with it is just that I fully support the move. I mean, frankly, just given where the season's at, what the body of work has been from David Bednar, this is a guy who, it's a little confusing in some regards because you look at the velocity, you look at the stuff, it's still been decent at the very least. But in terms of tangible results, it frankly just has not been good. So at some point you had to make a move. You and I have talked about the snow of this being a guy who's injured, has missed a little bit of time with 2 separate IL stints. It just hasn't been right this season. And I really don't think it does him or the Pirates any good to continue having him pitch in 9th inning roles. So to me, or high leverage spots like as a closer. So I viewed it as this was overdue. This is the right move. In terms of what the next steps look like here, I mean, I think you just got to keep using him. I'm certainly open to the idea of, down the stretch, if there's a week left, maybe you shut the guy down early if the results continue to be less than stellar. I think you see what you can get out of this guy in less of a leverage role. See if the location improves. This is somebody who still has been able to, at times, hit triple digits with the fastball. That's come in conjunction with not being able to regularly locate that pitch wherever he wants to, which has been such a key component of him as a pitcher. The bread and butter off-speed pitches with the curveball. I mean, he has just not looked the part this year. So fully support the move from the Pirates standpoint of moving him out of that role. And secondary to that, I think you have to see what you can get out of him. See if you can potentially get him right, because that's obviously a big development for 2025.
So let's continue down this path, Andrew. Ryan Borucki and Colin Holderman returned to the team Sunday. You have Kyle Nicholas, who isn't throwing the ball as well as he used to. Early in the year, Carmen Mlodzinski did not look good in his first outing back off of the IL. Mitch Keller, not great in 4 of his last 5 starts. Bailey Falter has struggled as of late. Jared Jones just coming back from the IL. No one's really throwing the baseball right now, aside from Paul Skeens, is what I'm trying to get at, Andrew. And maybe Dennis Santana and Chapman have also looked good, but the majority of your pitching staff is struggling. So I ask you, how do you manage these innings as far as, who gets to pitch during them? Because you've got guys coming back from injury. You've got guys on an innings limit that you're trying to get through the season but not overdo it. And then you have guys who have just aren't effective, that allow a lot of runs when they play the game of baseball. So what do you do, Andrew? Do you rely more on the pitching staff or the starting rotation to just try to get you through this, because that's going to be your bread and butter for the foreseeable future? Or do you take it easy on them and use this final month to primarily focus on your relievers who will be back in 2025 to try to get them right?
I'm certainly siding with you on that second point. I think that's where you have to go with this. The bullpen is of the utmost importance, and it's been such a disappointment this year relative to last. And there's so many questions, right? I mean, Kyle Nicholas, like you mentioned, had a great stretch there where the stuff is excellent if you're into stuff plus. Like, this guy has some of the best pitcher repertoire on the team. That's clear. But you need it to be a little bit more consistent, especially here down the stretch. Carmen Mlodzinski, after he got off to a slow start with the injury and starting out in AAA, Like, this is somebody that obviously has pedigree as a high draft pick. They want to see how he fares. Nicholas being the key component of that trade, the Jacob Stallings trade a few years back. So those are two guys I have a lot of attention on as they potentially take on more expanded roles next year. I'm also really curious to see how do they handle Aroldis Chapman. This is somebody who has said very public or privately with people that he really is a fan of pitching in Pittsburgh. He likes it here. Sounds like he would be open to the idea of returning. If that's the case and it's in a closer type of role, what does that mean for down the stretch here? Is this an audition for him? Is this really monitor the innings lightly because the team isn't competitive? Those are really important things to consider. So I look at it as the youth movement is important. And then secondary to that is, can you get Colin Holderman on track? How does Ryan Borucki hold up over the last month? Because he's somebody who certainly was a huge bulk guy last year. We haven't seen much of him at all this season. It's really important to see what you get from those two. So I'd say Nicholas and Majinski, high on my radar. After that, it's Holderman and Borucki. Those are two guys also who are really important to see what you can get.
Yeah, I think they're all important. I mean, and that's why I look at it. It doesn't make a ton of sense if you're looking at the big picture here to allow your starters to go through the order more than twice.
Agreed.
For the rest of the year. Or if they're really efficient, then, you cap them at 6 innings. And because you need to get the starting pitching for, it wasn't good in August, but just with the guys that they have right now, you have to feel confident that that's going to be the strength of your team next year, regardless of what takes place in September, and even regardless of what happened in August, where Keller was not good and injuries, kind of left you having to pitch Jake Woodford and Domingo Germán, and, that wasn't part of the equation here. But you have to feel confident with that group. Where the bullpen, you don't know. And so that's why I think you want those guys to have at least 4 innings of usage pretty much every night, because you have an expanded roster with 2 more arms now where you can get guys rest, but also get guys reps. And David Bednar needs more reps. Colin Holderman needs more reps. Majinski, Nicholas, like you mentioned, need more reps. Chapman's an interesting case as what you pointed out. Dennis Santana, another guy who could be coming back in a higher leverage role next year based off of how he's pitched really since being acquired by the Pirates. So I think that's what you use these innings for. You know what you have as far as a starting pitching staff, and you know what you're going to have next year when you have Oviedo back and you have Chandler and Harrington and all these guys in AAA knocking on the door. You don't know what you have with your bullpen. You need to know how much money are you going to have to spend in the offseason to improve this group. Is it a one acquisition type thing like they thought it was last year with Chapman? Or is it multiple spots? I think right now it's the latter. I think you're going to have to probably use that money that you spent on Perez and Gonzalez. That's what you're allocating those resources to. It's relievers, and you need to figure out who you're depending on to be reliable going into next year. Speaking on depending on guys being reliable and next year and a big part of the future, Andrew, before we wrap up the show, we need to talk about Henry Davis. Now 1 for 15 since returning to the big league club. His one hit was an infield single, struck out in 3 of his 15 at-bats. Hit the ball in the air today. He was actually like the only Pirate who did hit the ball in the air today. They hit 1 fly ball in the 18 outs recorded by Cobb, and Davis was responsible for that. And my eyes did not deceive me. I did see Henry Davis hit a ball to the right side today as well. Seemed like the contact was solid, but still, obviously, the results aren't there. How do you play Henry Davis moving forward? I mean, is there such a thing as too many opportunities where you allow him to kind of stumble if he goes in another slump, if you're playing him every day and he goes 0 for 21 in a stretch? Is that bad for him? Should they manage his playing time, or is it like we said on an earlier show, or get this guy as many at-bats as possible?
I think, first off, I think both those things can be true, where maybe you need to manage it a little bit in the sense of, okay, if it really does go down the drain, where he has a series where he goes, 0 for 12 with 8 strikeouts, maybe that's the time where you say, hey, we're going to sit you down for a day or two. If it's, say that's a Friday through Sunday series and they have an off day Monday, maybe that's with the design of giving a guy 2-3 days off in a row just to clear the mind and work through things on the side. But we have to remember with Henry, it's such an interesting component of this is he changed up his swing tremendously going into the season, right? I mean, now he's kind of reverted back to the stance of 2023. there are a lot of moving parts there. And one thing I do want to add too is that GM Ben Cherington on his radio show today talking about, it seemed like there was some degree of regret from him about how they managed Henry Davis last year with playing him in right field to start things off and then moving him back to catcher this season to get him back to that natural spot. So there's so many factors here. You could call them excuses, whatever you want to. The way I look at it is he has still not produced at the major league level hitting wise. It is not the case right now since coming back from the minors. The opportunity here is if you need to sit him down for a little bit to get him right, sure. But the focus should still be accruing as many data points as possible to figure out what exactly you have in this guy. Because right now the body of work tells a certain story that I'm sure the Pirates would not like to be the case of a former number 1 overall pick. If you have to sit him for a little bit to get him right, or in the efforts, the hopes of getting him right, sure. But over these last 25-ish games, the focus should still be seeing if you can get Henry Davis, 75 to 100 plate appearances. That should be the focus, at least in my mind.
He's Andrew Destin. I'm Noah Hiles. You can check out our work at post-gazette.com. You can check out all of our Pittsburgh sports coverage on the Post-Gazette Sports Now YouTube channel and podcast network. We will see you next time Wednesday as the Pirates have 3 games against the Cubs, a team who just swept them last week. We will both be in Wrigley, and we'll have more content for you there. We'll see you around.
Thank you for checking out this content from Post-Gazette Sports. If you watch this video on YouTube, please like the video and subscribe to our channel. For all of the sports coverage the Post-Gazette has to offer, visit post-gazette.com.